Hey everybody, this is Stel from the Shoot Style Sauna here to bring you my review of Money in the Bank 2020 from WWE. This show taking place at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, and hosting the Money in the Bank ladder matches at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. A very different show. The first time we've ever seen a Money in the Bank match. Both men's and women's at the same time, and also considering current circumstances in the real world, we have to change the show around. As I said, the matches that were not Money in the Bank ladder matches were held at the Performance Center, while the Money in the Bank ladder matches themselves were held at headquarters, and we'll get on to the review in that one. Our broadcast team, our usual SmackDown team, we have Corey Graves and Michael Cole representing SmackDown, and on Raw, we have Byron Saxton, Tom Phillips, and Samoa Joe. Very welcome to see him back on commentary. In this review, we're only going to be doing the main show. I did not watch the pre-show as it was happening, so we'll be skipping over that as we go into the main show. Kicking off the show is the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match between the New Day, represented by Kofi Kingston and Big E, as Xavier Woods is still injured. John Morrison and The Miz, the Forgotten Sons, recently brought up from NXT, represented by Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler, and Lucha House Party, represented by Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado. Starting off, we have Gran Metalik and Kofi. They have some nice chain wrestling moments. The two have some good exchanges. Eventually, we see Wesley Blake blind tag in. He gets Kofi. He takes Dorado off the apron to clear house as the Forgotten Sons are taking control of the match. A big point that I noticed early in this match, at least, was that commentary were really pulling up the Forgotten Sons as they've had a really good impact on SmackDown, starting out probably arguably better than they ever were in NXT. They recently got a win on the New Day on SmackDown and have been building momentum steadily, which is why they're in this match. They look strong here. They clean house, but eventually Morrison does tag in. He does a top rope Spanish fly on Gran Metalik to the outside onto everybody. Big wipeout there as everyone's down on the floor. Really nice moment. Forgotten Sons, they take control again. They slow everything down. They get frequent tags to each other, really showing some good tag team wrestling fundamentals. Metalik, who has not been out of the match once at this point, he tags out to Lince Dorado. He gets some time to rest. Dorado gets in, and Morrison nails this beautiful springboard kick onto Kofi. It's kind of like Cody's disaster kick. It's sort of like that, and he nails it beautifully on Kofi. It looks great. They fight some more. It gets down to The Miz, and I believe it's Kofi in the ring when this happens, that he reverses a Trouble in Paradise attempt. He turns into a figure four attempt, but then Kofi shoves him off into the corner, which leads to Steve Cutler being tagged in. He tries to take advantage, but Kofi gets to Big E. He comes in. Cutler hits him with a powerbomb after that, and also a double stomp combo from the New Day. That's a good near fall. Nice moment there. Lucha House Party eventually fight their way back in like a house of fire. They take everybody out of the match, and they hit a top rope combo into Big E. It's basically like I think it was a frog splash by, I believe it was Metalik, and then Dorado hit a big elbow drop from he did a rope walk elbow drop. It was a really nice moment. The Forgotten Sons break this up. Big E then eventually takes control. He's about to go for an apron spear. I believe it was on Cutler, but as he's getting back on the rebound ropes, Jackson Riker intervenes. And even though it's a fatal four-way match, no DQs, the referee ejects Riker. Commentary is playing this up at how this is not really a right thing to do, and the Forgotten Sons should be mad. By this point, it's back down to Gran Metalik and Big E. He tries to finish things off of a crossbody. He gets caught by Big E. He does the classic spot where they do the roll through, and they eventually are able to get the finish. Big E lands the big ending. Kobe takes out Lince of Trouble in Paradise, and the New Day win. I'm going to give this match 3.75 stars out of 5. I thought it was a really good opener. Some really good spots from all the teams, specifically the Lucha House Party and the New Day. John Morrison also stood out in this match a lot, and I thought it was a really good way to start the show. Next up, we switch over to Raw for some singles action. It's scheduled to be RTruth versus MVP. Both men make their entrances. RTruth has his usual entrance. He acts as if there's a crowd. He eventually asks everybody what's up, and he acts like there's a reaction. Funny moment there, and we're not surprised considering it's RTruth. As I said, Samoa Joe is on the Raw commentary team. It's very nice to see him, as this is the first time we see the Raw commentary team for the night. MVP comes out, dressed in ring gear, so it looks like we're about to get this match started, but it turns into more of a promo segment. MVP and Truth get in an argument about MVP's taunt and balling, and Truth eventually mocks MVP and does his classic ball and taunt. He talks about basketball and how it's he does it from a certain distance. It's 2 points. Then he says he's going to back up, and he does a three-pointer. It's a very funny moment, and they eventually talk for a little bit, and interestingly enough, Bobby Lashley joins the fray. He walks down. He tells MVP that he can have the night off, and Truth sees him, and he just goes, "Oh, snap." And then the bell rings as MVP leaves the ring, and Lashley has taken his spot. And some interesting developments here, as it looks like MVP is being a very well like a multi-client manager, because he's obviously managing Shane Thorne, I think Brendan Vink as a tag team on Raw right now, and now it looks to be he's taking Lashley under his wing, which I like that a lot. I'll explain that more in the assessment of this segment, but then the match starts. MVP's gone from ringside. He's very much just gone at this point. There's no sign of him, and it's just Lashley and Truth now. It's basically a squash match. Lashley really dominates this. It's not very long either. Truth shows a hope spot in. He counters Lashley's vertical suplex. He goes for the scissors kick, but Lashley eventually just hits a spear. 1, 2, 3, and that's the match. I'm going to grade more than the match here. I'm going to give this match 1.5 stars out of 5. It wasn't really much of a match. It was basically a squash match on pay-per-view. And the whole, I give it a boost. It would have been 1 star. I give it a boost because the promo segment beforehand and the implications it has for Raw. But at the same time, this match just could have been on Raw personally. But it was fine for what it was. It had some developments for Lashley himself, because I know he's always not been the strongest talker, but it's cool to see him getting a talented talker like MVP to help him out with that. So developments here, but not much else to really say about it. Next up, we're back over to SmackDown as we get ready for the SmackDown Women's Championship match between the champion Bayley, accompanied by Sasha Banks, and Tamina Snuka, or just Tamina, however you want to call her. Backstage, we see Kayla Braxton approaching Sasha Banks and Bayley before they come out, and she talks about what happened on SmackDown. Before this show, we had a match on SmackDown between Sasha and Bayley against Tamina and Lacey Evans, where it looks like there were some problems there between the two. Sasha inadvertently costing them the match, and she questions, at being Kayla, their friendship, and Sasha is very much not happy with it, and Bayley kind of answers it for Sasha. So a little bit more tension there. They're starting to really lead into this idea that they could fall out at any moment and that it could be coming soon, but they seem to be okay right now. They come into the ring. The match starts. Bayley's trash talking Tamina a lot. She's asking, "You want to be a champion? Well, you can't be nice. No one nice. If you can't be nice, and you can't win a championship by being nice," whatever it was. And she eventually starts to get the advantage, but Tamina quickly responds. She starts to take control of the match, and she says, "You want the nice Tamina, right?" And Bayley's saying, "Oh no, it's some pretty good character work from Bayley. I really enjoyed it." They fight to the outside. Well, Bayley goes outside. She downs Tamina, and she throws her leg into the post. It's a very classic spot we see a lot in wrestling. She throws her leg into the post twice. She goes by the announce table. She hits her big baseball drop kick into the bad leg. It's not in the post. It's kind of just off the post at this point. It's a nice little thing. She looks over to Sasha, and they are working together inadvertently. Sasha's gotten involved yet, but no, she's also keeping an eye on her friend, understandably so. Tamina, even with the bad leg, which she's selling like pretty well at this point, she stays in the fight. She's trying to fight back, and she does find a way back in. She kind of neutralizes Bayley for a little bit. Bayley also keeping her eye on Sasha still, making sure everything's all good. They fight some more. Bayley reverses. This is a really nice moment. Bayley is about to get by a super kick. She reverses that into a knee bar attempt. Clearly, Bayley's been setting her no-M dar tape, setting the champagne super knee bar. She being Tamina eventually gets to the ropes. They go to the outside. Tamina remains on the apron. Bayley asks for a water, funnily enough. Commentary just handed her that, no problem, no questions asked, and then she drinks it. She then splashes the water in Tamina's face, and obviously Tamina's not happy about this. Commentary is really playing up the whole bully aspect of Bayley's character right now, and Tamina starts to fire up, and they fight back into the ring, and Tamina sets up for the Samoan drop, and Bayley goes to Samoan drop, but she can't lift Tamina, so she falls to the ground, and she goes over to the apron, but Tamina gets a super kick in, and Bayley falls down. Tamina looks at Bayley, and then she throws her into the announce table. Some basic stuff there. They fight back into the ring. Tamina hits the super kick and then the Samoan drop combo, but before she even gets the pinfall, Sasha slides into the ring and stops the pin from even happening because the referee is arguing, Tamina wasn't going for the pin, basically, because she's getting distracted by Sasha. She chases Sasha around the ring, but then Bayley gets like a crucifix pin, and that's the match. It's not over there, though. After the bell, Sasha attacks Tamina, because Tamina's keep up her assault on Bayley, but then they eventually take her out, and yeah, that's the end of that segment. Not really much, but, it's a post-match angle. As for a grade, I'm going to give this match 2.7 stars out of 5. I thought that both women worked decently well together. Bayley's character work continues to shine, and it continues the angle between the two, so it wasn't bad at all. But, nothing really remarkable, nothing terrible about this match. It was there, but, it's nice to see developments being made in that division, and mainly for Bayley and Sasha in the big picture. Sticking with SmackDown, we then go to the Universal Championship match between Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt. They show a high package for the match, recapping everything that's happened to this point, playing up the whole black sheep thing between Wyatt and Strowman on SmackDown, and some more promos between the two. It's a nice video package. Bray Wyatt comes out first. As a reminder, he is not the Fiend. He is still Bray Wyatt. He's just his regular Firefly Funhouse self. He comes out usual joyful self. He waves over the commentary, says they're doing a great job, and commentary just like they don't know how to take it. It's kind of funny how they receive it, but he just gets in the ring. Early in the match, Braun dominates early on. He shoves off any mind games from Bray, and they fight to the outside. Braun goes for the drive-by, but Bray sidesteps, then Strowman tumbles over the table, and as Bray's recovering from his attacks so far, Huskus the Pig, interestingly enough, appears at ringside. He cheers Bray on, and that kind of like motivates Bray to do better, and he nails this big DDT on the floor. Bray's facials are also changing by this point. Early in the match, he's his usual joyful self, trying to like get in Braun's head, but now he's showing like this more twisted and like mean side to him, as like we would feel like when making turn into the Fiend, because given how Bray Wyatt's character can be. But no, he remains the usual host himself, and eventually he throws Braun into the steel steps, and Bray like kind of lashes out at himself, and he goes, "Look what you made me did," and it just shows that like he doesn't want to hurt Braun because of the whole storyline between the two. It's some nice storytelling they're doing here. They fight back into the ring. Bray hits this big top rope DDT, which looks really good, and then he goes for a Sister Abigail attempt. He gets it, but Braun kicks out at 2. Some good resiliency there from Braun. I feel like the Sister Abigail's finisher has been protected, especially recently because of the Fiend and all that. But Braun kicked out, so it got a good pop from me. Bray eventually sets up for a second Sister Abigail. He does the classic Bray where he kisses them on the forehead, and then he goes for it, but Braun counters that into a choke slam, so he gets out of that attempt. Braun then nails Bray with a drive-by as they go outside of the ring. He sends Bray into the barricade, too. It's a pretty nasty looking bump. And Bray eventually makes his way back into the ring. Braun bends over for a second, like in front of the apron where he is, and when the camera pans back over to him, he's wearing the black sheep mask that Bray's been teasing on SmackDown. So then Bray, his like all the pain he was in, all the things he was facing right now, they basically vanish from him, as now he's elated that Braun has put on the mask, and he goes like, "It's you." He's really happy about this, and he's just telling Braun to come in the ring. They eventually embrace. All the puppets from the Funhouse appear as well, like all of them. Abby the Witch, Mercy the Buzzard, I think, what's the other one? Ramblin' Rabbit was there. Huskus the Pig is still there. All of them appear, and they're cheering this on. They're really happy for Braun that he's doing this. He's embraced, his old self, and that now Bray will be able to take care of him, make him the best he can be. They embrace, they do the traditional like Bray Wyatt, like knees down, arms out pose. It's a very cool visual, actually. But then Braun at least stands back up. He slowly takes off the mask, and Bray's asking, "What are you doing?" as he's still like on his knees. Braun then steps on the mask, and Bray sits up, very, very unhappy with this. And the two say a couple more things, and then quickly after that, Braun just gets rid of Bray, hit power slam, 1, 2, 3, match is over. I liked the very good ending to the match, I thought, and eventually the segment ends with Braun leaving. He looks back at the ring, and Bray is in the corner, very unhappy, and then we get these quick flashes of the Fiend coming in. So it might show that this feud is not over. We'll probably get a proper match between Braun and the Fiend at some point, maybe a Backlash. We'll have to see. As an overall rating, I'm going to give this match 4 stars out of 5. It may have not been like the most biggest technical masterpiece in the world, but I thought the storytelling was top-notch in this match, especially towards the end. I was a big fan of what they did, and I thought, Bray Wyatt looked pretty good, and both men were able to really showcase like their chemistry together. I thought they worked really well together, which shouldn't be a shock considering how long they've worked together as well. And I thought, it was a really nice, well-done match, especially from a storytelling perspective. And it looks like this will continue too, so I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. In your semi-main event, it is the WWE Championship match between the champion Drew McIntyre and the challenger Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins comes out with some new music and a new Titantron playing up his big Monday Night Messiah character. It's very like religious preaching music. It fits his character really well, so I'm not going to complain there. Match starts out. Rollins is pretty dominant early on. He's able to hit a pair of suicide dives on the outside, and eventually hits a sling blade back in the ring as some highlights from his early assault. He also downs Drew with some submissions to really slow the match down in his favor and allow him to take control. They fight to the outside as Drew is outside. Seth hits a running knee off the apron, or his flying knee, as I should say. He then also continues to assault by he goes behind the barricade, like into the crowd, so to say, if there would be a crowd, and he hits another flying knee off the barricade. Trash talking Drew some more. He nails a third knee strike to the announce table, so Seth is really laying on the assault early on. He's really neutralized Drew at this point, and then he goes back in the ring for a third suicide dive, but Drew catches Seth, and he gets a belly-to-belly suplex onto the table, and the table doesn't break, but Seth goes to the back of the table. He sells it pretty well. And Drew then starts to fight his way back into the match. They get back into the ring. He attempts a Claymore, but Seth quickly avoids it. Seth goes for a flying knee, but Drew scouts it and hits Spinebuster. Very nice moment there. He also gets like the jackknife pin as he transitions off. It looked really good there. They eventually fight some more. Seth goes for a pin off a move, and Drew only kicks out at 1 to commentary surprise. Seth then goes up for a frog splash, gets that, and Drew still kicks out at once. And really, I thought it was good considering what Drew went through at Mania to make him look good, because he took a bunch of F5s, he still kicked out. I don't know why a frog splash should keep him down for long, so that's fair. I thought it made him look really good. Seth then, not sure what to do, he goes to the outside, he goes by the announce table, he grabs a steel chair, and the ref quickly berates him for it. Good knowledge there by the ref. He eventually gets in the ring with the chair, throws it down on the mat because he understands he can't win the match, obviously, because disqualifications. We all know the rules at this point. Seth then hits the Falcon Arrow off the Superplex combo. Drew kicks out at 2 this time, not at 1, thankfully. I thought doing it too many times might have killed the aura of it. Seth eventually goes for a curb stomp, but Drew moves out of the way and hits a future shock. That's his old finisher, but only gets a near fall, 2 count there. They go into the corner. I think Drew's using like a top rope move, but then Seth stops him. He gets him into a Tree of Woe position, which looks interesting. Then he puts pressure on the bad knee of Drew. But crazily enough, Drew actually flips Seth across the ring. Yeah, Seth actually went from post to post here, I feel like, because he went from the bottom left corner to the top right corner. It looks really, really good. They eventually fight some more. Drew gets down from the ropes. Seth goes for a stomp, but Drew moves it. He hits the Glasgow Kiss headbutt. Seth bounces off the ropes with another super kick, but Drew does the same thing. He bounces off the ropes and hits the Claymore, and he gets the 1-2-3. That's the match. This was a really, really good match. Both men had really good back and forth. The shift of momentum between them was great, and there was just some really good action here. The booking of Drew, I think, is good. Shows him as a resilient champion. It's hard to keep him down considering he fought Brock in Mania. He kicked out of the F5 multiple times, so I don't see why him kicking out of 1 is really a bad thing. I get you my damage Seth in a way, but still, like, it's a frog splash, like a regular move compared to like the F5, a move that's been protected for so long. But after the match, there's actually a little more that happens. It's not really much, but some character development. After the match, Drew stands up. He offers his hand to Seth for a handshake. Rollins then looks at him. He kind of is a little bit hesitant. Not quite, but he is hesitant a little bit, and he eventually shakes his hand. Drew walks off, fade to black. As for a rating, I'm going to give this match 4.25 stars out of 5. I thought it's personally my match of the night, even though there has been really good wrestling to this point, and we'll get to the main event very shortly. But as I said, it was just a really well done match, well structured, some really good booking, I thought, and yeah, the right guy won, and yeah, I was a really big fan of this match. Okay, now it's time for the main event of the evening. This is both the men's and women's Money in the Bank matches, as we found out in the build to this pay-per-view, is that these matches would take place at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, and that both matches would happen at the same time. So I was very curious to see how they would do this. The men begin in like the workout area. They're like in the gym area of the performance center, the headquarters, while the women are more in the lobby, like where the elevators are and everything. Each man walks in. They take turns between both the men and the women. Like 2 people walk in for the men, and they switch to the women, vice versa, until everyone's there. AJ comes out first. He's his usual self. Otis, as like each man comes in, he just says stuff about them. It's pretty funny stuff. We cut to the women. Pretty standard stuff. They all just walk in to, like from the side. It's just like one of those introductory things. They just walk in from the side with their music playing. That's it. It's kind of funny. And then they get to Asuka, who's not there. She's the last woman to show up. She's not there right away. Carapan's the up top. She's like in like the I'm not sure what I call it, like the platform above them where the logo is, like above the elevators, and then she does a big crossbody off in the start. I thought it was a great way to start the match. And then she quickly goes to the elevator, she calls for it, and she gets in the elevator with nobody else in it. Asuka with the right strategy. We like that. And then all the other women didn't opt for the stairs to try and catch up to her, and then we cut back to the men. The men, they have some basic fights in the gym. We see Brian utilize like some of the handles, and he gets like elevated dropkick in. We saw that in Mania with I think Edge when his match against Orton. It was pretty cool. Corbin is fighting with I think it's Brian, and he eventually goes for he tries to pull a Ciampa in the Performance Center, and he tries to get like a 45-pound barbell. He throws it, but he misses, and it breaks the mirror in the room. So yeah, there's already a problem. There's some collateral damage. Otis he's still talking as he fights with AJ. He smashes him with like one of those paper towel dispensers, saying stuff to him. It's pretty funny. They eventually fight their way over to like a barbell, like a free weight barbell. It has a bunch of weights on it, and then Otis puts AJ down on the floor. He takes the barbell, like he deadlifts it, and then he puts it down on AJ's chest. So I'm thinking right now is that nobody's gonna help AJ. and he could just die again. Because we saw him die in Mania in the Boneyard match. He comes back, no reason at all, and now he's pressed down on a marble, and it's like, what's going on here? Nobody helps him, he's going to die. I thought it was funny. They eventually fight their way out of the room. Ray comes by AJ, he doesn't help him at all, so I don't know how AJ even got out of it. We'll get to more what happens with him in a bit. They fight their way out, they get to the elevators. On their side, it's just about everybody gets in aside from AJ and Ray, who are nowhere to be found right now. Back to the women, 3 of them fight on the stairs, which I believe it's Lacey, Nia, and Shayna are fighting. They eventually run into the men, so there's a big stare down between all of them. Asuka notices, she gets out of her elevator. She sees all the carnage happening right now, and she sneaks off. Shayna actually catches her at the last possible moment and chases after her. Nice moment there. Corbin. So they're all So and the next floor that they're on, it's like a lobby. Elevators are right in front of them, but behind them it's like a ring setup, like a mini ring setup. So like there's the 3 ropes with a turnbuckle corner and with 2 turnbuckle corners in the ring. It's like half a ring basically against the wall. And Corbin eventually falls back into the ropes and he gets tied up like above his arms, like the classic spot we've seen with like Andre the Giant and stuff like that. And excuse me, we see Brian just start teeing off on Corbin with his traditional yes kicks. He actually then goes over to Otis in the corner, does the same thing. Brian runs off along with Aleister Black, but before we go away, we get our first cameo of this. So throughout this match, we're going to see cameos from like WWE alumni. Our first one was Doink the Clown with his music and everything playing in the background because this was pre-taped, and that's all we see of him. Nothing else happens. We go back to the women. They're fighting into a conference room. We see Nia and Shayna stare down for a bit before Nia gets the better of that exchange. Dana eventually gets one of like the Money in the Bank chairs that are like printed on that fans take home and takes out Nia with it. With every woman down, because Carmella was taken outside the room, Dana sees the Money in the Bank briefcase, but it's clearly not the right one because it's a see-through briefcase with like dollar bills inside with the Money in the Bank logo plastered on it. She climbs on the table. She unhooks it, and there's like this triumphant music playing in the background, and she embraces the briefcase, but then we get our next cameo. It's Stephanie McMahon. She tells Dana that the briefcase is on the roof before she calls Nia gross because she's drooling on the floor. We then see Carmella reappear. She takes out Dana with a picture of herself with the Money Bank briefcase mounted on the wall. She moonwalks out of the room while taking pride in her win, but then she quickly gets taken out by Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans then runs away, finds the stairs. We cut back, and AJ Styles is alive. We don't know how he got out of that situation, but he is alive. Among his search for Ray, because he's calling out for Rey Mysterio, he sees a picture of The Undertaker making his entrance at WrestleMania 33. AJ just stops in his tracks entirely and is just terrified by this painting. You hear Taker's music playing in the background. He gets more PTSD and he looks over to his right. He opens a door and has like a Taker lighting. It has the casket and everything in it. It's very spooky. The mist, there's like fog in the room too. Aleister Black then catches up to AJ. He then kicks him, not a black mask. He kicks him like to the side of the head. He then throws him in the room, closes the door, and runs away. It's a pretty funny moment. And AJ is starting to freak out in the room. You can hear him like yelling and stuff like that. It's pretty good stuff. We cut away and we see another cameo. This time it is Paul Heyman as he's like in the catering area of the headquarters and he's about to enjoy his meal. He's having like a sandwich and some other sides right there. But eventually everybody shows up. All of the men that are around, almost all of the women show up. There's a big stare down. Heyman tries to calm everything down, but Dana eventually gets in his way because she still has the Carmella like picture like across her body, like smashed over her head. It's pretty funny stuff. Amongst all their banter, Otis calls for a foot fight. He then throws a platter in Heyman's face. Heyman goes away, and there's this classical music playing in the background. I think it's like, I forget what it was, but it's some pretty great stuff. I'm pretty sure it's like the 1812 overture. I loved it. We get some wrong between mainly the guys and the women. Eventually, though, interestingly enough, we see Shayna choke out Rey Mysterio with the Karafuda. Nia then also bumps into him, and Ray goes down. Good night, Ray. Nice knowing you. Heyman is shown shielding himself with like one of the black plates. It's actually really funny. It's a good visual. We cut to the women like on the other side of the room. We see Carmella get put through her tail by Nia. Dana was previously thrown into a vending machine, so they're both down for a little bit. I think it's Nia and Otis stare each other down. Otis is like finishing off like one of the sandwiches that were on the platters, and they just leaves each other. They go their separate ways. Otis ends up in the cafe. He sees the pie set up on like the place where you get your orders from. He's like talking about the pie and how like excited he is to have it. But then we get another cameo. This time it's John Laurinaitis, in his fresh Colonel Sanders like suit. Otis looks at him and he pies him in the face and he just leaves. It was a great moment. And we see Laurinaitis just look up. He has pie all over his face and he just doesn't say anything. It's a good moment. We got back to the ladies. 3 of the ladies find Asuka, but Asuka stops them with a mop. So there's this janitor in the room. excuse me, he's mopping the floor of his mop. Asuka runs in asking where to find the roof. The janitor doesn't know what to say. She then sees the other ladies coming. It's Shayna. It's Dana Brooke. No, it's not Dana. It's Shayna, Nia, and I believe Carmella. No, she was through a table. It was at least Shayna, Lacey, and Nia come by. They try to come after her. Asuka runs away. She uses the mops to slow them down, which is pretty funny. And then Dana usually is right behind them. She's right behind them. She just falls on the floor because it's a wet floor because he was mopping. They then show the women fighting in a hallway. Shayna gets wiped out by all three women. Nia Jax with like a choke slam against the wall. This wasn't in order. She gets it was a women's right, and Asuka, I believe, kicked her in the head, and then Asuka ran away. They show Nia and Lacey leaving. Well, Nia then takes out Lacey. She runs off, but Lacey eventually gets back up and she gets to the staircase. It's called the Blue Stairs. Is this important? We don't know. Cutting back to the men, we see Dana Bryan and AJ fighting in a different part of the building. They eventually fight into an office, and they cut over, and it's our next cameo. It's Vince McMahon himself. Yes, the chairman of the board. It's him. He then looks at both AJ and Bryan. He just yells, "Ouch!" And AJ and Bryan just very politely, they fixed the chairs that they moved around. They're office chairs. They just fixed them. They put them back where they were at the table in front of them, and they just leave. They then talk outside the room, talking about how they were cowards, how they felt like cowards for a bit, and then Bryan calls AJ a coward, and then AJ talks him in the face. Great moment there. I was a big fan of that. Corbin eventually catches up to them. He lays out AJ, and then Black gets laid out by him, and I think he also lays out Bryan. He then says he's headed for the roof, so Corbin's heading for the roof. We then cut to the roof. We see Nia, Asuka, and Lacey make it up there. Shayna's nowhere to be found at this point because she got taken out by the others. They have a big fight. There's a big schmoz. Nia gets the first ladder. She sets it up. She's getting ready to climb, but Lacey and Asuka are there to stop her. Lacey takes down Nia. She hits her woman's right. She starts to climb, but Asuka stops her. She gets her down. I think she just kicks her in the head, and that's the last we see of Lacey for a little bit. Asuka climbs the ladder, but here comes King Corbin to try and stop her, interestingly enough. I don't know why you're trying to do that, Corbin. She's not really in your match. Asuka throws Corbin off the ladder. Great moment there. I like that. And Asuka unhooks the briefcase, and Asuka wins the Women's Money in the Bank. I thought this was a great winner. She was probably the best candidate to win, in my opinion, and I was really a big fan of that. But we're not going to rate the match until it's all completely done. So after that, the women, they just vanish. They just get Thanos snapped out of existence. They're gone, and we focus on the men at this point. Eventually, we see Ray make his way to the rooftop, followed by Aleister Black. They fight for a little bit. They're outside the ring, Corbin and the others, but Corbin just casually throws Rey Mysterio off the roof, and yeah, I guess that's the end of Rey Mysterio. He's dead. That's our first case of murder that we saw tonight, so yeah, that's it, but that's not all. After that, we see Corbin throw Aleister Black off the roof, too. So Corbin's killed two men, with no effort at all. No one's mentioned a thing about it. So that's just one big hole that I see in this. AJ Styles eventually joins the group. He climbs up to the top of the ladder. Corbin then sees this. He tries to stop him from winning. They both unhook the briefcase at the same time. They're playing a tug of war over it, but Elias appears and hits Corbin in the back of his guitar. Corbin lets loose. AJ can't keep hold of the briefcase. It falls down, and who catches it but Otis? Yep, that's right. Otis wins. The bell rings, wherever it may be, because there's not really anyone around to ring a bell. And yeah, they announced Otis as the winner of the Men's Money in the Bank ladder match. It's a bold choice. I was genuinely shocked. I thought that AJ was about to win after Corbin fell, and that would have been it. But no, that's it. AJ couldn't keep hold of the briefcase. It falls in Otis' hands, and Otis is the winner. It's a little bit reminiscent of what happened at WrestleMania with John Morrison, falling down with the titles after everyone was fighting on the ladder. But yeah, it's a very similar finish here. But that's it. Otis wins. They announce it. Otis says, "Mandy, I did it." It's a very nice moment there, and that's how the show ends. To rate the match, I'm going to give it 4.25 stars out of 5. I thought it was incredibly entertaining. I loved all the cameos. I loved all the interactions they had, and everyone just made it work the best they could. Some great stuff, some great action, and the endings. I was a fan of Asuka, and I thought that was the best choice for the women, and then Otis came out of nowhere. They generally shocked me with that one. So Raw get the women briefcase, and SmackDown gets the men's briefcase. My final grade for Money in the Bank 2020 is going to be a B+. There's a lot of good on the show, but some of the only really bad stuff I can think of is some parts of the Tamina Bayley match. I thought that match was very average as it was, and the whole MVP RTruth segment, I thought that could have just been saved for Raw, and that's that. But on that, I generally enjoyed this show. A lot of good highlights. My match of the night goes to Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins with an honorable mention to the ladder matches in the main event. And my show MVP is going to go to Asuka. Yes, I'm going to give her the MVP because she made her parts of the ladder match very entertaining, and I think she was the right winner. I'm really intrigued to see how they do this because I don't know if they're going to limit like her to only challenging for her brand's title. I think she could probably I can imagine she can go across each show. I don't know about SmackDown, but NXT, because I think they can make a good story out of that. They want to have her cash in on Charlotte, but she's kind of busy right now with Rhea and Io. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, that is my review of Money in the Bank 2020. Hope you all enjoyed it. And coming up next on the channel, we're going to have Tim doing a classic pay-per-view review of Backlash 2003. So, until next time, I'm Stel from the Shoot Style Sauna, and I'll see you all soon.